This lecture is going to talk about the basics of hair to get you ready for the more advanced information that's going to come in the following days. Hair is a type of trace evidence which can sometimes be invisible to the naked eye. Hair is considered to be class evidence, which means it can narrow it down to a group of people but not one individual. Generally, when hair is found, it indicates physical contact between a victim and a perpetrator if it is a human hair. It is strong evidence to support an individual being at a scene. When crime scene investigators look at these hairs, or the trace analysis looks at hairs, they compare hairs by color and structure, which we'll see in later lectures. They can also extract DNA from the root, as well as a couple other different places. The major parts of hair include keratin, that's a protein that makes up most of the hair shaft, and melanin, which is what gives the hair its color. Redheads have something called pheomelanin rather than just straight melanin. And actually, in gray hair, this is an airspace in the middle, so it is no longer filled with all of the melanin, which is why hair turns gray. So traits of the hair, it's an appendage of the skin and grows out of the hair follicle, which is this area here. So it's all of this. The length of the hair extends from the follicle all the way to the tip, and the root or the follicle can contain DNA. Lots of different reasons to have hair. It regulates body temperature, helps for insulation, decreases friction, protects against sunlight. It's also a sense organ. And then the structure of the hair, I'm going to compare it to a number 2 pencil because that's the easiest way to think about it. The cortex is the main body of a hair, and that's what contains the melanin. That's the actual like wooden portion of a pencil. The medulla is the central cell of the cortex, like basically the middle of the hair, and it's hollow. So it's this area right here, and we would compare that to the lead of the pencil. The cuticle are the scales that cover the hair, and that is like the yellow layer on a pencil. The root is the proximal end, so closer to the skin or in the skin, and then the tip is the distal end or the end outside of the skin that you can touch and run your hands through. So just to briefly go over the different layers, the cuticle is the outer layer, it's transparent, and the scales will point down from younger end towards older end. So if you look here, you can see distinct differences between different types of hair in the different organisms. The cortex is the color layer. It's the largest part of the hair shaft, and that includes the melanin, which are pigment granules. And then the medulla, there's lots of different properties we can look at to analyze this, and that's the very, very middle portion. Okay, and you see here, this would be part of the medulla. You can look at the ratio between the medulla and the shaft. You can look at the pattern, and you can also look at the shape, which will help tell us if it's human hair versus animal hair. Answers we can get from hair, we can figure out what part of the body it came from, we can figure out racial origin, we can figure out age and gender, we can figure out if it was forcibly removed or not, and then we can actually individualize hair a little bit more by 2 types of DNA we could find. Nuclear DNA, which is DNA from the nucleus, that's in the root of the hair, or potentially mitochondrial DNA, which is from mitochondria in the shaft of the hair.